Hello everyone, welcome back to The Budget Sportsman. Thank you so much for joining me on today's video. It's a beautiful spring day here in central Pennsylvania, and I decided to get out here and do some work on the budget boat. Now, if you haven't already seen my boat project and the budget boat, then I'll leave a link up in the corner for you to select a playlist and see all the videos about this boat. But if you've seen them or you go watch them now, you'll know that I bought this boat as pretty much just a bare boat. It was $100, and I bought the motor separately. Later, I was actually given the trailer. And so I'm just trying to build it up to what it's supposed to be. Last summer, I put a fish finder on it and some electronic switches to prepare for some other things that I wanted to do. Today's project, which may not get done today because I don't have a lot of time, I'm gonna start on it, is to put navigation lights on the boat. There's a couple reasons why I want navigation lights on the boat. And that would be the red and green on the front and the white stern light on the back. And that is so that I can be legal to be out close to dark and after dark. There have been several times that I've wanted to be out with my wife or my family for a sunset cruise, and we were really limited by the regulations of how late we were able to be out without lights on the boat. But more importantly, well, don't tell my wife I said more importantly, but also I've been wanting to do some hunting from this boat, and it really limits you if you're not able to get in and out in the dark. Last year, I took this boat to a lake here in Pennsylvania with my brother-in-law. Again, there's a video about that I'll put up in the corner. But we were really limited in not being able to hunt those really prime hours because we weren't able to get in and out in the dark. A lot of you commented and said, man, you gotta get lights on the boat, and that was certainly one of the goals, and I'm gonna do it today. Let me show you what I've got to work with. For my red and green on the front, I don't have that typical little dome light that sits right up here in the front. I've got two of these. My wife got them for my birthday. One is red and one is green. They're made for this, and they're gonna be adhered to the side of the boat right about here, and they're gonna give me that red and green. It's gonna be a nice flush finish here. There's not gonna be anything up top to trip over getting in and out of the boat. So one of these is red and one of these is green, and from the reviews, they're highly visible, so I'm anxious to see how these work out. And then for my stern light, I got this light, which is from Academy Sports. I was a little disappointed it was advertised as being LED, and I bought it because it seemed like a really great price for LED. Turns out it's not LED, that's okay. But it came with the base, which I'm gonna mount in the boat, which I'll be able to take this pole out and store it when not needed, and just have the mount here, or the base mounted to the boat. And then it also came with the pole. And one interesting thing about this pole is I believe the regulation says that the stern light has to be 36 inches above the bow light here, or the front navigation lights. So I didn't want a 36-inch long pole for storage, so I got this one, which collapses down to about 26 inches long and then extends out to, I think, something like 48 inches long. So in storage, I can collapse it, and when in use, I can extend it out to make sure I'm meeting the regulation. So with all of the preliminaries out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and start mounting these lights to the boat, and then we'll get them all mounted up and we'll start doing the wiring, get them wired into our switch panel. Okay, I have a pretty good idea here where I think I want to put the lights. There's a nice flat spot right here, no rivets or anything. Before I try to put them on, I'm a little skeptical. These are just held on by 3M adhesive. The reviews say it works good, but I'm a little skeptical about something being held on only by adhesive in a wet environment like a marine situation. But anyways, I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol here to try to clean that area, make sure it's free of dirt, oils, debris. Hopefully we get a really good adhesion with these lights. Well, we'll see how long it lasts, but so far I have to say it seems like pretty good adhesion. So I'm gonna do the other side, and then I'm gonna find a place to drill my hole and get my wire inside the boat. Okay, well, I have a little 3-year-old helper with me today, and she really wanted me to get in the boat. So I set aside the front there, and I'm moving to the back. I have the lights on in the front, but I don't have the wires fed inside yet. So I think I have a pretty good idea here of where I want to position this. I'm gonna put it right here on the side of the boat. Don't ask me what the technical name for that is. And I think it's gonna look pretty good. It's gonna angle back just slightly. If I turn this around, it's gonna angle forward, which that's gonna look dumb. So I think I'm gonna put it right about there. Just gonna measure it out and figure out where this goes and try to drill a hole. And I'm not sure of the right drill bits to drill through this, but we're gonna try. Wow, that was easier than I expected. Okay, so I drilled out the hole. It's about the right size, except that this piece here actually has like a keyway where it's not perfectly round. It actually has a square part coming out. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that. I might just have to get a good old-fashioned file and file a square part out for that to be able to fit down in there properly. trying to make a place to put this light in. Oh, look at that. Well, y'all, with the soft aluminum of this boat, that actually was way easier than I expected. I have to drill a couple holes here for my bolts to go down through. I'm good to go. All right, well, before I actually screw this thing down, I want to go ahead and silicone underneath it so that I don't have any issues with water running down underneath and then just running right down here and onto my wires and probably corroding out my wires prematurely. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a bead of caulk here. I'm going to use silicone. I know probably marine grade 5200 would be better, but I don't have any and it's very expensive, so this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to just put a whole lot of it here around the edges. All right, I got some there. I'm going to go ahead and put some over here. All right, good. Time to screw it down. What's he doing? Can Daddy have this? All right, so I've got my rear stern light all mounted. We don't have it wired yet, but it's all mounted. I'm really happy with the way it came out. Easy to put in and out here and cover up and put the light away for storage. So got that done. I think I'm gonna move back to the front now and get my wires inside the boat, then we can start with all of our wiring. All right, we're back up at the front of the boat. We have our front lights here on correctly, and I'm just gonna drill a really small hole right up here in the corner where it's a little bit protected, one on each side for the wires, send them through, and then we'll caulk those holes shut with some more of that silicone. All right, so now that I got my wires tucked up in there, looks nice and neat, I'm gonna go ahead and put some silicone up around there to make sure that the wires don't rub on the hole and to seal up the hole from moisture getting in. Hey everyone, it's been a few days since you last saw me out here putting the lights on the boat. The other day I got them all put on, but I didn't get the wiring done. And unfortunately, the time that I had to get the wiring done was last night after dark, and there really wasn't enough light to do any filming. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and show you what these lights look like at night, and then I'm going to come back and show you a little bit about how I did the wiring and how I put in my switch panel. Well y'all, here it is, the finished project at night. Got my red and green bow lights there, as well as my stern light, my anchor light there. Really happy with the way it's all turning out. And I'm gonna tell you what, all of these lights, the front lights and the stern lights are all really, really bright. So I'm really pleased with that. Let's take a look at it from the side profile. All right, and there it is from the side profile with the red light as well as the stern light there. You can probably even see just from the light on the ground that, at least to my eyes, the green is significantly brighter than the red. But I don't think there's any issue with the red not being bright enough. It's just not quite as bright as the green. Baby girl, can you turn them back on, please? There you go, leave them on for a minute. Daddy's gotta do some videoing and I want them on. All right, so there you can see what they look like at night. Super bright lights. You can even tell right now in broad daylight, they're pretty bright. So I'm really pleased about that. Let's go ahead and take a look at my DIY switch panel. All right guys, what I wanted to do is I just want to show you my switch panel here. I think I showed it before on the channel when I added the Humminbird fish finder to my boat here. But I'll just go over it again here. This is a really inexpensive, I think probably $3 to $5 ammo box that I got at Walmart. On the back side, I do have a disconnect switch that disconnects all the power to the switch panel. And then what it is, I got a switch panel here off of Amazon that I mounted into the box. So what this does is it gives me 5 switches. It gives me 12 volt, like your typical cigarette style, we would call our accessory port, as well as a couple of USB ports here, 2 USB ports, and you got your voltage readout right here. And so what I have is 5 switches. So far I've got one that controls the power to the Humminbird. It has its own on-off switch, so I don't really need that, except that there was an easy way to add a fuse because each of these switches is fused. The second one runs my red-green nav lights up front, and the third one, my stern light back here. The other 2 are still available for future use. But one thing that I wanted to point out is that this thing is loose right now, but it clamps down onto the seat. But I built it this way so I could take it out in the winter months and store it so that this wasn't all just sitting out in the sun and the snow all the time. But in order to do that, I needed to be able to make all my fixed accessories removable or detachable. In other words, my lights up front need to be able to detach somehow. And so the way that I did that is I took my wiring and I made a connector on it so that it would disconnect. So all I have to do is pull that off, and now my lights stay on the boat, and I'm able to pull my switch panel out of the boat. And I did that both for the front lights and the rear lights. Now, the Hummingbird, because it's mounted on here, it doesn't need that kind of a disconnector. It just stays connected all the time, and it comes out with the switch panel. If you're curious about this, these are XT60 connectors is what they're called about. They're used frequently in the RC hobby world, RC planes, RC drones and helicopters and so forth for 12-volt systems. And so these are XT60 connectors. They work really nicely, and I'm really pleased with the way that turns out, and it allows me to disconnect my switch box from the boat. Well, y'all, there it is, the finished project for adding nav lights to my budget boat. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my playlist of all of my adventures in buying the budget boat, different upgrades I've done, as well as adventures in actually using the budget boat for fishing, hunting, camping, all of those kinds of things. Until next time, remember to get off YouTube and get outdoors into God's great creation.